says it's 200 bucks, then we should stand there and wait for them to pay us $200 to poison our bodies. It's going to cost more for me to poison my body with that stuff. Why would we do that? Why would we pay for that stuff to poison ourselves and our kids? Is that not pretty asinine? I mean, seriously. Our society is really, really screwed up when it comes to this stuff. And again, you see it all happen in the amount of disease that we have. So, Whole30 quality foods, see what you can eat, and then here's the thing. We must go buy it. And so we go buy this stuff called food that is in grocery stores, and then we bring it home, and here's this really big part, you cook it. Okay? So there are many, many, many people on the planet, which we call adults, walking around out in the world, doing a life of some sort, that have never cooked a single thing. And they will die early in pain. It's for sure. Okay, so we need to cook, and we need to make that happen, and we need to make it as easy as possible, because you, all of you, are busy people. I don't know anybody that sits around and like does nothing. I don't know. It would almost be a joke if you found that person. We are crazy busy in our lives, and so we need to make this work. If we accept that this is what we need to do to make ourselves and our kids healthy, then we need to find a way to do it. The way to do it is, okay, so I'm going to mention Costco. I basically only go to one store. I hate even going to one store because I don't have time, but anyway, Costco works because Costco sells more organic food than all the other grocery stores to get chains combined together. So they have good prices on organic food. And so I go there, anything that they have organic, I just buy it. And if it's not organic, I don't buy it. And that's how that goes. And it's cheap enough that it's, even like in regular stores, it's just way cheaper. I need to talk about organic a little bit. People talk about organic all the time, you know, do I have to get this, do I have to get that, whatever. You don't have to buy everything organic. All meat, if you buy meat, you need to do the best you can, okay? Because regular grocery store mass-produced meat will kill you, like the studies say. So when they, I could go on and on. So they do a high-fat study, and so they get a bunch of mice, and they feed them corn oil and shit. And I just said shit. So they give them a high-fat diet, and then the mice are dying again. And so, well, they gave them corn oil. It's ridiculous. Okay, so when you buy meat, you need to eat meat. You need to eat lots of meat, but it needs to be the best quality you can find. It is. Think of it as medicine. Okay, don't think of it as, oh, it's this, it's expensive, it's whatever. It is medicine. It's what you should eat. Okay, so then, organic. If you go, so I'll use Costco because that's where I go. So avocados, you're now going to eat them. And so avocados, the ones they have there, are not organic, but they have a great big thick skin on them, and so I feel safe to eat that. It may not have the absolute 100% nutrient value that it should have had while growing in organic soil, but it's not covered in pesticides. If you really, really hate someone, buy them a whole bunch of strawberries from the grocery store and then gift that to them. You know those like giant Frankenstein ones with giant strawberries? Have you ever grown strawberries or berries or whatever in your backyard? You hardly get to eat any because, one, the birds eat them before you get there, before they even got ripe, and you know there's little black spots and this and whatever. It doesn't happen that way naturally. Berries and strawberries in particular have the most pesticides of any produce ever, period. If you are a man and want to be a woman, eat a bunch of those strawberries. Because we haven't even gotten to that hormonal part of it yet. Okay, so it is a bad thing. We, men and women, do not want to eat pesticides because that brings up that whole other subject of estrogenic and xenogenic substances, which almost all of them, for some reason, mimic estrogen. I often say, you will hear me, unfortunately, say that in our society, men are no longer men. And it's absolutely true. And I listen to a lot of stuff, and I try to listen to stuff where people have a lot of letters behind their name, because I don't. Okay, so if someone has been studying something for 25 years and it's their life's work, I'm going to pay attention to that person. And what's happening in our society right now, I am off the subject. Our food, what we are eating, the food products that we're eating, are changing the human race. It is changing our genes. Food has the ability to express genes, to turn genes on and off. Let's say we all have 6 genes that are cancer genes. We have a choice. We literally have a choice of turning those genes on or off by what we put in our body, what we signal our bodies to do. Every single thing you put in your mouth signals your body to do something, whether it's water or poison. It tells your body to do something. So it is really super important. So back to organic, if it is exposed to the air, and therefore for sure will have been exposed to pesticides, herbicides, all that kind of stuff, do not buy that, do not eat it, do not give it to your kids. I don't care if it's on sale, don't do it. Buy organic if you want those. Things that are covered in a big skin, then you can save a little bit of money if you want to by not buying organic. That's the rule. It will make a big, big difference. I didn't talk about blood sugar, and I need to just a tiny bit. So when we eat a food, so we talked about the glycemic index, and sugar's at 100. If I eat real food, meat, vegetables, my body assimilates that slowly over a period of time. It's protein, it's fat, it's fiber, and water, and it assimilates slowly in my body, slowly raises my blood sugar. My body's happy, it's great, it's happy. I had protein and fat and fiber, and it's still happy, and it's still happy, and it's still happy, and it's made me happy for 5 hours. 5 hours would be a great indication that I had a healthy meal. And it slowly starts to dip, and I get hungry. And so I get hungry, and then I eat that food again. In our society, we wake up in the morning, and we have, maybe you have coffee, and you race out the door. So you just probably started like a little cortisol thing, and then you race out the door, and maybe you're eating on the way, or you get to work, and there's donuts, or there's your favorite muffin, because it's a brand muffin, so it must be healthy, or whatever it is, or you croissants, or who knows what, or cereal. Oh my God, don't even get me started. So you have that, and then your blood sugar just skyrockets because that glycemic index is so high. It is not a real food. And so it skyrockets. Your pancreas goes, oh shit, I better get some insulin out there in the bloodstream to transport that sugar out of the bloodstream before my stupid human dies. Okay, so then, and it saves your life, and it takes that blood sugar, and it's got like a few places to go. If you have just worked out, and your glycogen stores in your muscles are not completely filled, and in your liver, it'll go there first. If you haven't worked out, and everything's full, then it has to store it as fat. Hence, the light bulb should have gone off, and you think America. Okay? So every time you eat something that spikes your blood sugar, and it can't go to glycogen in a few cell things, then it has to go to fat. So how many times does that happen in a day in the average American life? It is ridiculous. But if we ate real food, that would never happen. It would come up, and it would keep our blood sugar in the very finite range it needs to be, and your body is happy. And there's no such thing as diabetes, type 2 diabetes, overweight, obesity, on and on and on and on. So real food doesn't do that to us, products do. We need to fix that. At every meal, so I mentioned, like I like to listen to people who study nothing but, and so I was listening to a really interesting lady who studies protein. That's all she does, protein. Last 15 years, just protein in her body, with the overriding goal of what is the healthiest for humans. And so you'll hear all kinds of things out there. Not enough protein, too much protein, blah, 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 blah. And so this woman says that most of our society, especially women, are dying as we speak. They're deteriorating as we sit here because they didn't have a meal with 30 grams of protein in it. And if you take the average American diet, you know, get up in the morning, maybe have bacon and eggs or something. Most people would consider that like a big breakfast or something. And, you know, they had lunch, a salad for lunch, a little bit of chicken or whatever. And then, you know, maybe at dinner or they went out with friends and they had a 5 or 6 or 7 ounce steak. Only one time in that day did they have a bolus or a dose of protein at one time to initiate protein synthesis, to initiate muscle building and repair. Only one time a day did they do that. Many people never do it, like in a week or a month. And so hence the other problem, we are supposed to have muscle, a bunch of it. And so we are supposed to work and exercise and come to CrossFit because we don't work anymore, we sit at desks and stuff. So now we have to pay to come to CrossFit to be healthy. So we come to go, and by the way, I have to say this, CrossFit is one of the best, if not the best, training modality in the world today that a person can just walk in the door and do. It is the best. There's a whole bunch of reasons. I can talk for an hour about that, but we can't. So you're in the right spot relative to exercise. We need that, and so you guys have got that part. Doing CrossFit, it's going to elicit the response we need to build muscle. And then nutritionally, we have to provide that store so it can make that happen. And it makes that happen by having 30 to 50 grams of protein at a single sitting. 50 sounds a lot. That's for old people. So you see old people sit around. I can think of my grandmother. She grew up on a farm, grass-fed meat her whole life, and then she gets older and she's having toast and jam. Oh yeah, by the way, my grandmother was addicted to sugar because they put sugar on everything. As soon as they had sugar, man, it was on everything. Everything. And so, where was I? Grandmother addicted to sugar. So, where was I before that? Help me. Protein. So, she would have toast and jam, like, all day. Well, where is the protein? My grandmother's dying as I look at her. Okay, so, we need protein. And some people think, oh, I can't eat that much protein, that's too much protein, I heard this, I read this, whatever. Let's just believe this girl who's got a PhD and has been studying nothing but protein. After her mentor studied nothing but protein for his 20 years, and now she's got 15, and let's call that good. Let's believe that girl. So the average woman needs 30 grams of protein at a sitting 3 times a day. When does that happen? Not much. You need to do it now, Monday, study. And as you get older, past your 40s, we are unable to assimilate unless we're really, really practiced. So I'm hoping I'm still doing okay. But we can't assimilate the same nutrients and protein as we could when we were younger, and everything's working perfectly. So past the age of 40, it's recommended that you have like 40 or even 50. If you're like 50 or 60 or 70 years old, you should be having 50 grams of protein at a sitting. And most people would think that's crazy, unless you knew better, in which case that's what you need to do. And so when you see the Whole30 diet, meal plan, you see your burner type, there's a whole bunch of vegetables, a bunch of meat, healthy meat, and then limited carbs relative to your burner type. And those carbs need that. So when you have that half a plate of vegetables, those are fibrous carbs, probably the best term. So fibrous carbs, broccoli, lettuce, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, snow peas, some things like that are a little bit more fibrous. And so the carb part on your plate, that will be starchy carbs. So that'll be sweet potatoes or white potatoes or squash or something like that. You know, butternut squash is pretty starchy, that kind of thing. And so that's where it's limited. And that's the part that we need to, well, it's one of the parts that we need to fix to allow our hormones to calm down and get better. So limiting your carbs is very, very important. And if you ate that plate 3 times a day, you would be so much better than the rest of America. You're going to have that chance to calm everything down and reset. When you think of vegetables, when you think of eating, you need to think of protein, fiber, and water. If something's not right, so you have a night out. And so you have a night out, so you have some carbs. So you know when you eat carbs, 1, you're going to gain fat, and 2, now your blood sugar is screwed up after that. So if you go out drinking, the next morning you're going to, after you if you're not sick or whatever, because it's a toxin and it poisoned you, but you're going to be more hungry and you're going to crave simple carbohydrates, so processed carbohydrates. You're going to crave those, you're going to want those, and it's going to make you feel better for a little while, but then it's going to die again, you're going to feel lousy, and then most of America does that all day long. So when you, as a strategy, if you screw up, you right away know that you're going to feel that way, and you eat protein, fiber, and water. Protein, fiber, and water is the fix. You eat protein, fiber, and water. And if you eat protein, fiber, and water, you are not hungry. It's going to take a little while to get used to that because people are hungry and they have little sugar snacks and stuff like that. So we want to actually go longer without eating if we can, if it's going to work for us. So we want to reach that point where we can actually go longer without needing a snack and stuff like that. So if something should happen like that, we just get back on the wagon. We don't freak out about it. We don't go jump off the bridge. We just get back on the wagon right away. It can happen. It's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Just get back on the wagon. I just about want to have a nervous breakdown when people say, "Oh yeah, I screwed up, so it's no use now." Or they say, "Well, yeah, I was Friday night. I'll start on Monday." Oh my God! Just get your shit together, and the next morning do it, or that night, or whatever it is. Just do it. Be strong. Okay. Questions?
Traveling.
Traveling. Thank you. Protein, fiber, and water. So I just traveled, and I never get to because I just work all the time. And so this was like the whole thing. I just traveled. It was amazing. And so I went out in the world and I saw other people. What an experience that was. So I only see the people that come in this door. So I'm pretty limited. And so I saw other people, and I saw people walking around the airport, and I saw my family. And it used to be that Canada, once upon a time, was healthier than the United States. Well, that's no longer the case. And so basically the entire world is unhealthy. And so all my relatives, almost all my relatives, are overweight or obese. And they'll almost exclusively say that, well, I eat pretty well. And no, not even close, don't even have a clue. And so when you travel, it can be really hard. So in the airport, we were fortunate because there was an organic restaurant there. We were super lucky. So went there, oh my God, so okay, I had white flour. So I'll just tell you right now, my name's Chris. and so I had white flour. I think I got rid of the top of the bun, but it was on the bottom of the bun. So it was a grass-fed burger. Yeah, it's like an organic grass-fed burger. It was pretty good and everything. It had the buns. I got rid of the top, but I ate that other part. And there was another time I ate white flour too. Oh yeah, that was the emergency sandwich because you got to fly and everything. And so I tried to make the best choice. And so I had white flour. Like that was the first time. Honest to God, I didn't even know when. Okay, so but I survived it. And I'm still here. Came back, get back to work, right? So we have to try to make the best choices. So we know that the healthiest meat that we can get is the way to go. Now, unfortunately, if you're at a work function and they have a plate laid out, you know that all that meat is like lunch meat. Okay, so no human should ever eat lunch meat. You know that, right? And you would never get your kids lunch meat. Oh my God. Okay, that stuff is just poison. It's like mass-produced meat with all kinds of chemicals and junk in it. Don't eat it. So you make the best protein choice you can wherever you go. You go to a restaurant, you're out with friends, you're with family, and they're freaking out because, you know, what are we going to feed these weird and demented people? And you can always go to a protein source, almost always. Choose your healthiest protein source and eat as much of that as you can. If there's any healthy fat source there, like say there happened to be extra virgin olive oil, then organic extra virgin olive oil, then, and you only had lettuce, put a whole bunch of that extra virgin olive oil on there, because that is actually good for you. And so put a whole bunch of just like pour it on, talking to somebody, pour it on, and do that. So now you're getting a healthy fat source in there. Otherwise, you're just going to just be starving, and then all that other junk that's on the table, you're going to like mosey on over there and start eating it. And then once you eat one of them, your brain goes, shit, that was good. And then you have another one. And then some people can't stop. And so, protein, fiber, and water. So most protein sources already have, or most healthy protein sources already have healthy fats. But if it isn't the case, try to get some of that. And then, if there's, you know, like a thing of broccoli there, just eat the broccoli. I mean, it's hard when you're traveling. So if I'm thinking of work function and it's all laid out on the table. If there's sandwiches, you know, peel the bread off. There's always a bunch of those lousy sandwiches left over anyway. Just take about 4 of them, throw all the bread away, and then just eat the meat. Eat the meat if you have to. You have to survive somehow. And then we get back eating the healthiest food as soon as you can. Yes?
Fruit too, right? If you're traveling, like you kind of go to fruit, but you don't know if it's organic.
Yeah, so, well, so fruit, we could go to, you know, should it be organic or not? Is it exposed to the air when it was growing, therefore pesticides, or does it have a really thick skin? So that's the first choice. If it's, I mean, I wouldn't eat it, honest to God, like if there's some berries or some fruit there, I wouldn't eat it, but.
Just stick with protein and veggies.
Yeah, so you're there and there's not very much meat, so you eat a bunch of fruit. Well, now your blood sugar just rose and spiked, and then, so every time your blood sugar spikes and your pancreas produces insulin, the insulin transports all that blood sugar to cells, to a whole bunch of cells, but mostly glycogen storage and fat. And so here's the problem. So when that happens over and over and over again, people become insulin resistant, which you've heard about. And so those fat cells and other cells in your body are going, look, I have had enough of this shit. I'm done. Okay, we just keep bringing this stuff over and over again. It's too much. I was never designed to do this. I'm done. That's it. And now that blood sugar has nowhere to go. Now things really go bad. So every time you have a blood sugar spike, you have a requisite insulin spike as well. So every time that happens, you're getting a little sicker. Every single time. A little sicker. So if I personally, I've had hypoglycemia most of my life. Okay, so my mother was addicted to sugar. Absolutely. And in my era, there was always sugar on the table. I mean, there was sugar like crazy. I grew up having Captain Crunch and, I don't know, like Fruit Loops and all those things. It was horrible. So that affects your body and your pancreas' ability to produce insulin, whatever. When my pancreas overreacts, I have hypoglycemia. So when I eat anything sugary, my pancreas overreacts and sends a lot of insulin in and makes it die quicker. Everyone will do that as you starve. Anyone who starves, that same thing will happen. And most of America now, okay, so this is actually weird. It's probably, you know, like now it's 2018, there'll probably be some article on the new words that were like created in 2017. And hangry is going to be one of them. Okay, so we have a whole country full of hangry people. When you're starving and your blood sugar dives, you feel like, and there's 2 pages of symptoms that can happen, and so people are grouchy and bitchy and whatever. And so their blood sugar is diving, and they are now hangry. Let me tell you, I hate that word. So anyway, it's a problem, but now it's endemic. It's like ridiculous. So I would not have just fruit, because that's going to do that. You need first protein and fat, so they're usually combined. Protein and fat, fiber and water. Those are the choices. If you go to a restaurant, you get the healthiest meat choice you can get, and take off any processed grains of any sort, and be careful about sauces. So you guys know that. So restaurants are in the business to make money, right? They want you to come back. And so everybody knows that MSG is bad for you. And so does anyone of you suspect that there is only one chemical in the world to enhance flavor? Does that make any sense? There's like about 123 of them. So, Chinese restaurants took a beating, and they have a big sign, no MSG. Well, we got these 14 other ones, and it still tastes the same. When you go to a restaurant, that food, that whatever that restaurant is, that chain or whatever the franchise, all of that stuff has been produced by food scientists to make it the tastiest and most addictive it can be to make you come back. That's their job. Big companies have like General Mills decades ago had over 120 food scientists. Their job is to take a little bit of something and turn it into a big junky something and charge you a bunch of money for it and make it irresistible to you. You believe that, right? So their job is to make money. That restaurant's job is to make you come back. And the way they do that is by using chemicals, flavor enhancers, to make it taste good. If you took that same food, whatever it is, piece of meat or whatever, and you went home and cooked it yourself, it doesn't taste the same, right? Because you don't have access to all of those chemicals. That shouldn't be a surprise to us. So we shouldn't be eating at restaurants all the time. Seldom should we be. Because there's nothing in that restaurant food that is really good for us. Because everything is going to have a sauce, a this, a that, or whatever, to make it tasty. They don't care about the health, they want to make it tasty. Make sense? So we really truly should limit our time in restaurants. Okay, does that help at all? That's very basic, but you
Somewhat. It's the hotel breakfast. It's like, okay, this is how I'm going to start my day. Do I go for the eggs and the bacon, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not the greatest choice versus what I would normally do at home. I mean,
I would
it's not going to be
absolutely.
organic egg. I know it's,
Yeah. So you got the whatever breakfast. If you got, so you're in the hotel, and the hotel is a restaurant, or is this like the continental one?
most likely continental.
Yeah. So sometimes they have like some hard-boiled eggs, and I know for a fact that they're not organic or whatever. And I look around and I see muffins and croissants, and I see cereal, and I see like those cinnamon things and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm looking at all that stuff, and I see non-organic hard-boiled eggs that I don't know how old they are. But probably they're not too old, but whatever. And so I see those things, I see all that other junk, and I am going to eat 6 of those eggs. Because that's the only way I'm going to get through the next 2 or 3 hours of my life. And so absolutely I'm going to do it, if that's my only choice.
Yeah.
And I can't go anywhere, I didn't have food with me and all that kind of stuff. And we talk about coolers and all that kind of thing. So if that's my only choice, yeah, I'm going to do that. So someone says, well, should a person eat 6 eggs? Don't eggs have a lot of fat and cholesterol? Yeah, they do. Who's a man and wants to stay a man? Anybody want to be a man? Because you better have some cholesterol, I'm telling you right now, because things are going to go south. Literally. So, I never even thought about that. That's just new. I write that one down. So, we need that. And so one morning you had 6 eggs. So there's only about 6.5 grams of protein in an egg. Like that's not very much for people. I had a couple eggs. So, that's nothing. That's a joke. We didn't even get started. We need other stuff. We need more.